Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Hagen-Botham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, City Current CEO, Jeremy Park.
Welcome back to the City Current Show, powered by Hagen-Botham. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And we always love having our keynote speakers come on the show. That's why we're honored to have with us Kris Kelso, keynote speaker, leadership coach, and author of Overcoming the Imposter. Silence your inner critic and lead with confidence. Kris, how are you doing?
Jeremy, I'm doing amazing this morning. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Well, absolutely. You were a knockout in terms of having you speak at our City Current Signature Speaker Series in Nashville. So, absolutely amazing experience there. Definitely want to have a little bit of a recap on that side. But let's start out with a little bit of your background and how you got into leadership coaching, the imposter syndrome. So give us a little bit of your background.
Man, it's been a twisty, turny, tumultuous at times journey, but essentially I've been an entrepreneur for almost 2 decades. I started my first business in 2007. It was an IT consulting firm. Ran that for close to a decade, and then co-founded a second company, which was a platform, a technology platform built for the healthcare industry. A lot of technical stuff, a lot of security and compliance and all of that kind of thing built in. And I ran that for a couple of years as well. And then when I left that business, we had gotten to profitability and taken on a little bit of investor money, but really gotten to that stable state. And I shifted into a role where I was working independently as an executive coach and doing some leadership development. And essentially my journey went from being very focused on technology to then running technology businesses to then focusing on the business and the people side of things. And I found that that's where my passion really lied, was people and leadership and team health and all of that. So I transitioned into executive coaching, got certified with the International Coaching Federation. And after a few years of that, started adding professional speaking. And now today, most of my work is as a keynote speaker. And of course, I've written and published a book about imposter syndrome. I still do a little bit of coaching, and I'm on faculty at 2 training institutions, one a coaching school and one a school for professional speakers. So I'm also teaching the 2 main things that I'm doing, which is really, really fun. I love the portfolio of activities that I get to do.
Where did the thread of imposter syndrome start to step in for you in terms of a focus for your keynote and obviously for the book?
Yeah, it started all the way back with that first business where I experienced a lot of imposter syndrome, not knowing what it was, not knowing there was a name to it, not knowing what to call it, but just that persistent self-doubt and that worry that, man, maybe this is all just a fluke and I'm getting by on luck and chance and help from other people. And at any moment, it's going to fall apart because I really don't know what I'm doing. And when I learned about imposter syndrome many years later, it was like a huge weight lifted off my shoulders, just to know that A, it's a thing that psychologists have identified, B, that many, many people experience that. In fact, it's more prevalent among high achievers. So it's actually something that is a positive sign in some ways that you're actually growing and stretching and pushing outside your comfort zone. And so when I learned about it, I started sort of studying that phenomenon. I'm a little bit of a psychology nut anyway, and I really wanted to understand the mind game that was going on there. And it started as studying it for myself, but as I began to talk to colleagues and other entrepreneurs and even some of my clients about it, the response that I got from them told me that this was a real and pervasive challenge, and that I had a unique take on it, that the things I was learning and some of the techniques that I was uncovering to counteract that voice of self-doubt were really valuable to other people. And so that then turned into a talk and then an article that kind of went viral, got over 100,000 views and a lot of feedback, and then eventually became a full-fledged book and now a keynote speech that I've been delivering around the world.
One of the things you hear often is fake it till you make it, but you're not a fan of that. So talk about that tied to imposter syndrome.
Yes, I'm not a fan of fake it till you make it. And this was the subject of a TEDx talk that I did a little over a year ago. And I think that fake it till you make it, though the advice sometimes is meant well and with the right heart of like, just get out there and do the thing and try. There is a real problem with calling yourself a fake. Like if you struggle with self-doubt about something you're trying to do, then telling yourself the antidote is to fake it. It's not going to boost your confidence. It's going to actually erode your confidence because you're going to feel like a fake and you're going to struggle with feeling like you're just a fraud. And the other reason, there's several reasons, but another key one is that when you're faking it, you're acting like you don't need any help. And if you act like you don't need help, you will miss out on opportunities to get help. And so I've become more of a fan of a more honest and transparent and authentic version of learning something new and building and creating something, which is what I call the mindset of an explorer, where you are out there, you're trying things, and you know that not everything's going to work out the way you hope it will, but that experimentation and that trial and error is part of the process, is part of the learning process to be successful. And your success in motion, you're growing, you're learning, and that you can be honest about that. And that honesty will attract mentors and other experts and people that can help you to grow and move faster. So fake it till you make it actually sets you back. It holds you back from success because people don't help you when you really need it. But this much more authentic version, which I also refer to as humble confidence. I know I can do this, but I also know I don't have all the answers and I need some help along the way, and I'm going to figure it out.
I like the analogy of an explorer, success in motion, and to your point, being authentic and true, and help to me, relationships, all of that plays such a key role in personal development, career development, and just success in life. So, I mean, I think all of that to me is a really important through line and perspective. Carry that into, we want people to buy the book, obviously, and see the keynote, but maybe one or two tips, recommendations when it comes to how do you put yourself in the mindset of an explorer? How do you realize that success in motion? What are one or two tips?
Yeah, I've developed a series of habits, and there's 10 habits that are outlined in my book around developing humble confidence and avoiding that inner critic and really disarming that inner critic that tries to tell us. And I'll give you one of them, which is to be more quick and really build the habit of saying, I don't know. And that phrase, though so simple, is sometimes really hard to say, especially if you're in that trap of fake it till you make it. You're trying to present yourself as an expert in something that you're still just learning. But the moment someone asks you a question and you don't actually have the answer, but you start sounding like an expert, you just start talking and kind of trying to find your way there, you put a lot of pressure on yourself to come up with the right answer when you may not have it. And so by building the habit of saying, I don't know, or a variation of that, I'm not the expert here, this isn't my zone of expertise, this isn't my sweet spot, but that doesn't need to be the end of the sentence. You can say, I don't know, but I have some ideas. I don't know, but here's how I might go about figuring that out. Or here's how I would research that. I don't know, but I know some people that we can bring together and I can gather some advice and we can get some expertise. And so by just simply building the habit of, number one, paying attention to when someone asks you a question or when a situation arises where you're tempted to fake it, and just start with the acknowledgement that I'm not the expert here and I have some thoughts. I have some opinions. I have some ideas. I have resources available. And that alone will help you to stay in that zone of humble confidence where you're not saying, I don't know because I'm an idiot. I don't know because I'm worthless. I don't know. You're not falling into that self-deprecation, but you're remaining humble about the fact that I don't have all the answers and confident. I believe we can figure it out. I know we can get to that answer. And so starting with, I'm not the expert and I have a lot of confidence that we could figure this out together. We'll keep you in that sweet spot.
Give us an idea of how this sort of mindset, these sort of habits have helped you personally.
Yeah, so as an entrepreneur, I've started a couple of different businesses. I've also been invited to help other entrepreneurs and leaders in a lot of different ways. And in fact, getting trained as a coach was really helpful to me in this area, because one of the hallmarks of really good coaching is acknowledging that I don't have all the answers. I'm not here to be the answer person. I'm not here to, coaching is not you ask the question and I give the answer. In fact, a lot of times it's the other way around. It's I'm asking great questions to help you, the client, explore and grow and stretch and learn and shift your perspective and all of those things. And so developing the skill of asking good questions and suspending judgment and presumption of that my limited expertise and my limited experience contains all of those answers, that has actually really helped me a lot in how I view, even the rest of my business life outside of coaching and the things that I approach. Just coming with that assumption that there's always more to learn. There's always an angle that I haven't considered. There's always a perspective that could be valuable that I don't yet have, and I need to seek that out. That really helps me to stay in that explorer mode. I may know a lot, but I don't know everything. I may have some experience, but I don't have it all. And so that's been really valuable for me in my career.
I think the older you get, part of it is maturity, but it goes back to leadership and that phrase where if you feel like you're the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room.
Yes.
And you start to look, to your point is I don't need to have all the answers, but I need to surround myself with those who do, so that as a team, we have the best answers possible. That's what drives, teamwork and success as an organization. And I feel like a big part of that, like you say, the humble confidence of saying, okay, I'm good at this, but I need others who are good at these things too. And together we can have we can miss the blind spots and have the breakthroughs. And so I think a big part of this too is, going on that leadership journey, the maturity, all of that plays in, that helps you refine your perspective on all of this. When you look at writing a book, I mean, obviously to your point, being a leadership coach, you're seeing all this in real time play out. And so you're continuing to learn and refine and grow personally and professionally as well. When you look at kind of the next book or the next chapter, the next iteration, what does that look like for you? What's the next step look like for you?
Yeah, I'm open to a lot of things. People are constantly asking me, do you have another book in the works? When's the next one coming out? And, this book wasn't something that I decided I'm going to write a book. Let's go find a topic to write about. It really was more of a compulsion that I felt like this book needed to exist and I couldn't find it. And so I had to write it. I needed to create it. And so I think I do believe I will write another book, but it's going to be when I have something really important to say that isn't being said well somewhere else, or I have a unique take on something that I can't find anywhere else. So I'm not in a rush to write a book. And in fact, this one, I think this one's got a lot of life left in it. There's a lot more that can be done here. But that doesn't mean that I'm not doing new things. I'm always, every year I set for myself a learning or a growth goal in some way. And this year, it's actually been comedy. Early this year, I hired a professional stand-up comedian to help me develop more humor in my speeches, in my content, in the things that I do. And that doesn't mean I'm turning into a stand-up comedian. The speech I gave at cityCURRENT wasn't a stand-up routine, but it did have some moments of levity and humor and lightness, and the audience was laughing and enjoying. And that is because of a concerted effort that started at the beginning of this year, where I said, what's an area I need to improve? What's one thing I can do that will make me better and more valuable as a speaker, as a coach, as an author, all of those things. And this year it was humor. Now, next year, I haven't decided what next year will be, but I'll add something next year. And so I'm always looking to grow in some way. And And the humor one was stretching for me. Man, writing comedy is hard work. It really is. I think stand-up comics, it's one of the hardest forms of professional speaking, public speaking, in fact. So I've learned a lot and stretched myself in that process, and I try to do that in some way every year.
It's also a good example too, where you don't really have a full appreciation until you start playing that sport or step into stand-up comedy.
Yes.
It's like, oh, this is really hard.
Oh my word, yes. I have such respect now for professional comedians and all the effort that goes in to make one really great joke. It's a lot of work.
So obviously the popular keynote is on the imposter syndrome, so overcoming the imposter, obviously based on the book. What are one or two other popular keynotes?
Yeah, so the humble confidence topic, it started as that TEDx talk, which is about 13, 15 minutes, and I've expanded that into a full keynote now that incorporates a little bit of elements of imposter syndrome, but isn't focused so much on that self-doubt element as much as this juxtaposition between proud insecurity and humble confidence, and how you develop the habits that keep you in that sweet spot of humble confidence. And so that one has been growing in popularity. I've given that to several corporate all hands meetings to help set the tone for their company culture and things like that. I've got a few other keynotes and some workshops on a little bit more practical things like 5 levels of delegation and building a culture of trust and healthy conflict and some of those topics as well. So those are some of the things that I've been able to bring to a lot of companies and organizations.
Well, obviously, we're looking forward to having you speak again with cityCURRENT, like in Memphis. But where do we go to carry this conversation forward when you talk about leadership coaching, your keynotes, the books? Where do we go to buy the books, and how do we go follow your efforts?
I'm really easy to find online if you remember that my name starts with a K, KrisKelso, Kris Kelso. Because I'm at KrisKelso.com. I'm Kris Kelso on most of the major social platforms, etc. And then the book can be found anywhere you buy books. Amazon, certainly, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, all of the major outlets have it or have access to it. But if you want to look up the book specifically, you can find the website at overcomingtheimposter.com. And in fact, people can go there and get a free sample chapter of the book. And I'll say it's probably the best chapter in the book. I chose to give away not the first chapter that just sort of sets up the problem and doesn't really give you a lot of answers, but chapter 7 that is all about the explorer mentality that we talked about. And I offer these 2 different mindsets: the tour guide, which is the mindset that kind of gets stuck in a rut and stays in their safe zone and makes this loop over and over again, versus the explorer mindset that is out there experimenting, trying, that is pushing through the fear, that is, learning from their mistakes. And so it's a great chapter that outlines those 2 mindsets and teaches you how to learn from your failures.
Good stuff. Well, Kris, thank you for all you do to power the good. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jeremy. I enjoyed this a lot and have really enjoyed being a part of cityCURRENT. So thanks.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the cityCURRENT Show. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most: the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.